Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Restoration of Social Recreation Services webinar. This webinar is sponsored by ARCA and in collaboration with the ARC. I'll start off today with a little housekeeping. And first off, I do want to just repeat that webinar materials for today can be found in the Q&A. And they will be available in Korean. For housekeeping, accessing the webinar. The webinar is being recorded. ASL interpreters will be on spotlight throughout the presentation. Depending on your device, this may mean that sometimes you may not see the presenter. This presentation will have English closed captioning, which you can access using the button at the bottom of the screen. Your video and audio will not be available. In webinar mode, you will only be able to see the interpreters and presenters. Chat is not active for attendees. Questions may be asked by accessing the Q&A feature. The questions will be recorded and responses will be provided on a later date via website posting. Features will vary based on the version of Zoom you are using. Some features like polling are not available for phone users. Next. We'll start off today by talking a little bit about ARCA. The Association of Regional Center Agencies, ARCA, is the 21 independent nonprofit regional centers, the association for them. And there is a 42-member board, which the makeup is 21 executive directors of those regional centers, as well as the 21 board presidents for those regional centers. The actual mission of ARCA is to promote, support, and advance the Lanterman Act. And you'll hear a lot more about the Lanterman Act today during this presentation. ARCA also participates in the development of public legislative policy related to the developmental services system. So next. Now you'll hear the opening remarks from the executive director of the ARC California.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Lindsay. I am the executive director of the ARC of California, and we advocate for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families and the direct support workforce. And I am so excited that you're here. This is a really important topic. We've been talking about this for a long time. I'm thrilled after lots of advocacy from you guys and everyone in the communities around California. We were able to restore social recreation and camp services so that regional centers can once again help pay for and provide those services for individuals and their families. And so what this is about is really how to access those services, how to work with your regional center, your service coordinator at your regional center to make sure that they know about social recreational and camp services, that you are aware of what inclusive social recreational and camp services look like, and then the importance of it for an individual, and then again, how to access it and how to move forward to include that in your IPP and in the life that you and your loved one want to live going forward, to include that social and recreational part of their life, which is so important. So thrilled that you're here. This will also be an ongoing discussion as we want to continue to provide more information for you and for the community. So please keep in touch with us. Thanks very much for being here, and back to you.
So we'll talk a little bit about what it is that we're going to be discussing today. Unfortunately, oh, there we go, okay. So yes, we will be discussing, first off, we'll do welcome introductions, and I'll go ahead and start with that. My name is Sydney Jackson. I'm a senior program analyst with the Association of Regional Center Agencies, ARCA. Our panelists include Carmen C. Luna from the Eastern Los Angeles Regional Center, Patricia Albino from the ARC, as well as Aaron Olson from Central Valley Regional Center. You will also hear from Christian Oriano, who will share his participant perspective today. We will be discussing the California's regional center system in general. We will also be discussing specifics regarding the social recreation restoration. And then we will hear from a parent, that will be Patricia Albino, who will share the parent perspective and the benefits of social recreation services. And then the participant perspective as well. And then we will wrap it all up with how to start social recreation services, if this is something that you're interested in. Next. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Carmen Luna. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney, and good afternoon. I am going to, before I begin the PowerPoint, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to look at the history of the system and the changes that have occurred over time. I believe that it's important to understand the history because it really shows us what is possible when communities come together to fight for a common cause. In this instance, parents, professionals, and legislators came together to change the way people with developmental disabilities were being treated across the state. The reinstatement of social recreation services also symbolizes the positive changes that can happen when people of different interests work together to achieve a common goal. The campaign for change really started in 1963 when a small group of parents and a reporter visited Fairview State Hospital. The inhumane living conditions that they witnessed really highlighted for them the stark differences between what an institutional life looked like and what a life lived in the community looked like. The visit and the subsequent publication of the story led to legislative hearings and investigations that led to dramatic changes in the state hospital system and eventually also changed the lives of people with developmental disabilities in California. In 1964, following the initial hearings, the legislature appointed a commission to study intellectual disabilities. Part of the work of the commission was to survey family members who had a child on the waiting list for admission to a state hospital. What they found was that a large majority of the families said that they would prefer community-based alternatives to the state institution. In 1965, the commission released their findings in a written report. The report would dramatically change the course of the services that people with developmental disabilities would receive in California. One of the main findings of the report was to call on the state to accept responsibility for people with disabilities prior to state hospital admission through regional community-based services that would provide diagnosis, counseling, and continuing services. In response to the report, Assemblyman Lanterman helped to write a bill that authorized the establishment of 2 pilot regional centers. The centers were designed to call attention to the unmet needs of people with intellectual disabilities, facilitate the development of services, maintain records, and provide systematic diagnosis and follow-up. In January of 1966, the first 2 regional centers opened their doors. One regional center was located in Southern California and one in Northern California. By June of that year, the 2 pilot centers were serving almost 1,000 Californians with intellectual disabilities and their families. In 1969, Assemblyman Lanterman once again influenced the course of the system by taking part in the development of a report that concluded that the 2 pilot regional centers were successful and the model should be expanded. Assemblyman Lanterman introduced another bill that called to extend the regional center network throughout California. This bill became the Lanterman Developmental Disabilities Services Act, and it was signed into law by Governor Ronald Reagan on September 4th of 1969. The Lanterman Act, as we know it today, called for the state to contract with local, community-based, nonprofit corporations to provide services across the state. In 1977, the network of regional centers was completed with the establishment of the 21st Regional Center. Assemblyman Lanterman had originally envisioned that a regional center would be developed for every 1 million residents of the state. As we all know, there are still only 21 regional centers charged with meeting the needs of all Californians with developmental disabilities. Today, the 21 regional centers support approximately 400,000 individuals with developmental disabilities. We know that today, the majority of the individuals served by the system reside at home with their families and receive community-based services. And we recognize that as the Lanterman Act continues to be amended, the system will continue to evolve to better serve individuals. For instance, in 1992, the legislature amended the philosophy of the Lanterman Act to embrace the concept of empowerment, establishing person-centered planning and giving individuals and their families more choice and authority to make decisions about their own lives. Each regional center is an independent nonprofit overseen by a volunteer board of directors. The requirement that regional centers are to be community-based nonprofit corporations is written in the Lanterman Act. By being locally based, regional centers have the ability to develop and provide services which are uniquely tailored not only to the individual, but also to the community which it represents. Both geographic accessibility and population density were considerations when the locations for the 21 regional centers were selected. The establishment of a volunteer board of directors is important because they ensure that regional centers are operating for the right purpose and that they are in continued compliance with laws and regulations at every level. They also serve to ensure that the regional center has adequate resources to advance their mission. Approximately half of the individuals served today are adults and half are children. Next. California's regional center system. Where do services start? Regional centers are the official point of entry to the state service system for people with developmental disabilities and their families. Intake departments serve individuals aged 3 and above. The intake department is responsible for coordinating the eligibility determination process. Intake services are provided under the Lanterman Developmental Disabilities Services Act. Infants and toddlers are served in the Early Start program. Early Start is California's early intervention program for infants and toddlers with disabilities and their families. The Early Start Department serves children birth to 3 years old. In order for services to continue beyond the age of 3, there must be a regional center eligibility determination. Early Start services are provided under Part C of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. I would like to highlight that there's no immigration requirement or financial test for eligibility. If you are found eligible for regional center, services are provided lifelong. Service providers. Businesses called service providers contract with regional centers to provide lifetime services and supports. This partnership enables people to lead full integrated lives in communities of their choosing. Service providers have to go through what is called a vendorization process. Simply put, this process allows regional centers to verify prior to the provision of services to individuals that an applicant meets all of the requirements and standards specified in regulations. Next. What is a developmental disability? A developmental disability can be an intellectual disability, it can be autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and what is referred to as the fifth category. This is defined as a disabling condition closely related to an intellectual disability or requiring similar treatment. It's interesting to note that when the regional center system first began, it only served people with intellectual disabilities. It was not until 1973 that the Lanterman Act was amended to include the other disabilities, and it was not until 3 years later, in 1976, that the fifth category was added. The term developmental disability refers to a disability that begins before the 18th birthday, is expected to continue indefinitely, and presents a substantial disability. It's important to understand that even if a person is an adult, they can still apply for services. If the disability occurred before the age of 18 and the person is in their 20s or 30s, they can still apply for services. However, they must prove that the disability originated before the age of 18. This is generally what becomes the issue, as the onset can be difficult to prove, and that's when securing records really becomes necessary. It's also important to understand what is meant by substantial disability. In order to be found eligible, a person must present a substantial disability in at least 3 life areas. Regional centers will look at 7 life areas when making that determination, which are communication, learning, self-care, mobility, self-direction, capacity for independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. Capacity for independent living and economic self-sufficiency are related to people over the age of 18. So as a result, adults have to be substantially disabled in 3 out of 7 areas. For children, however, we only look at 5 areas because capacity for independent living and economic self-sufficiency are not counted. So a child has to be substantially disabled in at least 3 out of 5 areas. So in order to be found eligible for regional center services, a person has to have a developmental disability, and the disability has to result in a substantial limitation. Next. Regional center services, eligibility tests, assistance with finding services, case management, home support, work programs, and trainings are a few examples of the services that your local regional center can provide. The first step to receiving services through a regional center is establishing eligibility. Once eligibility is determined, a service coordinator or case manager is assigned to help you develop an individual program plan. An individual program plan, or IPP as we call it, is an action plan that identifies goals, services, and supports needed. A person-centered planning approach is used to develop the plan. The IPP is reviewed every year during the person's birth month, but may be reviewed more often if necessary. Everyone who uses regional center services has a planning team that includes the individual, family members, regional center staff, and anyone else who is asked to be there by the individual. The team ensures that services support the individual's choices, including where they live, how they spend their day, and their hopes and dreams for the future. One of the functions of a service coordinator is to provide assistance in finding and accessing community resources and securing regional center funded services. There are a variety of services that the regional centers provide to support people at home. If an adult wants to live independently, regional centers have 2 services that can be provided. These are independent living services and supported living services. Independent living services teach individuals skills to live independently, and supported living services are services that provide ongoing support for individuals that are unable to learn the skills to live independently. Housing services also includes licensed residential homes, which are located in neighborhoods and can be a living choice for both adults and children. Services for people who want to work include supported employment services and day program services, amongst others. Employment is a service category that has seen substantial growth in the last decade. As a regional center system, we want to see individuals working in jobs that are meaningful to them and can lead to economic self-sufficiency. Day programs are community-based programs that are designed to provide activities and training opportunities in a structured setting. The services may be provided at a fixed location or out in the community. Lastly, regional centers provide training and educational opportunities for individuals and their families. We encourage individuals with disabilities and their family members to be informed through participation in these programs. This is a very brief overview of the wide array of services and supports that are available through your local regional center. If you'd like to learn more, please contact your service coordinator or case manager, and they should be able to provide you with further assistance and guidance. And now I will pass it on to Aaron Olson.
Thank you, Carmen, for a wonderful way of starting our presentation today about the services that the Regional Center System applies to all Californians with intellectual disabilities. My name's Aaron Olson, and I'm here to talk about the fun parts of today's conversation. What are social recreation services? This is an amazing opportunity in California for all Californians with intellectual disabilities and their families. This is an opportunity for us to look at creating environments where we have true inclusion, which is something that you're going to hear me say a lot today, because inclusion is so very important for all aspects of the work that we do within the regional center system. Social recreation services are here to increase that inclusionary process for people with intellectual disabilities within their communities. It's also to help them strengthen their social skills so that they can improve the quality of the life that they are choosing to live. And they can also learn how to engage in social aspects with other individuals that are non-disabled within their community setting. Community-based services are key for these aspects, for people to be able to integrate in natural environments. We talk about this a lot within the regional center system because we all live in natural environments. And so it's important for us to make sure that the people that we serve get the same opportunities that we get. And that's where we individualize them through choice, through person-centered planning, and through the opportunities that are created through not only social recreation services, but the other services that Carmen talked about before. Next. Are social recreation services new? No. The amazing thing is that in our state, we've created another opportunity for us to expand on something that was once closed. In 2009, California suspended the services due to the financial crunch that we were dealing with in the entire United States. We are very fortunate in the state of California through our legislative branch and through other aspects of supports that we receive both at the state and federal level that we're able to turn these services back on. And this is an amazing opportunity for all Californians. Starting in July of 2021, these services were restored. This helps us because it creates opportunities for not only underserved communities that may have strived or looked for other forms of ways of integrating positively within the social construct of their community setting. It also allows all Californians to create the opportunity to enjoy the aspect of creating a social life. Greater equality under social recreation participation is key for our population so that we can all grow together in a true inclusionary manner. It's really important for us to be able to learn how to interact with our common neighbors, our friends down the street, our school friends, our community members, and our vocational individuals that we work with. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, again, are all part of the social recreation participation, and that's true inclusion under this plan. So I'm really excited to continue to talk to you about this today. Next. Are social recreation services the same as they used to be? Well, yes, and a little more. So the federal government helps us pay for services under the Centers for Community, Medicare, and Medicaid Services Act, or it's also called CMS. You'll start hearing that more and more throughout the state of California in the time to come. Home and community services and the final rule that's about that, in other words, the HCBS final rule, you will start to hear also more about that in all aspects of the regional center system within DDS, because that's how the federal funds come into the state to provide opportunities to use social rec. We all regional centers are truly looking at the community-based aspect of true inclusion. It's so very important in these opportunities to create social dynamics for all individuals that we serve to have that opportunity to interact not only with disabled individuals, but also non-disabled individuals. Things that you and I all take for granted. It's just part of our natural life. And we need to make sure that all aspects of the people that we serve have that same opportunity. Compliant programs, this is important. We want to make sure that the programs that are being provided underneath the regional center system are helpful to you, are helpful to your sons or your daughters that are participating in these programs. It's really important to us to make sure that they're able to keep all individuals safe, regardless of disability, when they're participating in these types of programs. Next, who provides social recreation services? Well, this is another great opportunity to talk about. It could be both public or private. It won't just be regional center traditionalized services. We're looking at amazing opportunities here. Yoga studios, art classes, swimming, surfing, you name it, it's available. That's the great part about having a person-centered approach. This also includes generic resources, including the cities, parks, churches, and our partners in the school settings. All of these opportunities are available for us, and we should look at them all individualized and identify through the IPP process how they're going to improve the quality of the individual's life that we're serving, and also allow that person-centered aspect to come in. People's hopes and dreams are really on the line here. When we talk about someone who really wants to learn how to swim, this is an opportunity for us to create that environment for them to get, for them to be able to explore that and decide whether they like it or not. Others who want to help support community participation is also important. So these are community members that come in, your local churches and various other organizations, and they're there to say, you know, we want to help. We want to be able to participate. And those are also opportunities for us to discuss based upon the person-centered component of how we could work those things out. Existing regional center services, I didn't mean to skip over them, like the ARC, are amazing opportunities for our adult population to engage in social interactions and social service components and community settings. They are traditional in that sense, and they also create opportunities to make a safe space for someone to participate in. New social recreation service providers, like I talked about, that amazing yoga studio that's down the street, or maybe the swimming lessons. Those are things that are a fun time for us at the regional center system to explore. And we look forward to having families come forth and saying, hey, what about this? Or hey, what about that? Those are opportunities for us all through the IPP process to discuss how we're going to make this work and how we're going to make it better. Next. Camp. Boy, how many of us remember being at camp when we were kids? I remember, and I loved every minute of it. I had the honor of being a camp counselor at a camp for people with diabetes, and I had the honor of being a camp counselor for children with asthma. And both of those experiences taught me some amazing things, that even though you might have some sort of limitations, it doesn't limit you. And that was an amazing experience for, as a young adult, to experience wanting to be in this field, because camp helps increase confidence and independence. Even if you have a disability, it doesn't mean that you can't do things. It also creates activity and exercise. And what an opportunity it is to be maybe at a beach camp or maybe be up in the mountains and learning how to climb a tree. What an opportunity those can be when you're free with your friends and you're interacting in a true inclusionary manner. It also helps build lifelong relationships. There are going to be times that we might have experienced, and we hope that other people will get to experience going through this process where they will be able to remember people that they had at their camp experience, and those relationships and those memories will go on for quite some time. Positive role modeling by adults. Like I said, I was really excited to be a camp counselor, and I personally believe that it's those moments when I worked with individuals that needed a little extra help. It really did mold me into wanting to work within this system. And it also helped me understand the importance of being a good role model. And so those are the opportunities that young people get to experience at camp, both either being the counselor or maybe being just the participant. It's also kind of a nice break for us parents. Let's be honest, if it's just a day camp where you get to have some moments to do some Netflix binging, or maybe it's a week-long camp where someone's going and they're going to be out of the house for a while, that's true inclusion. And how many parents have had that experience with non-disabled children? The opportunity should be also provided to those that might need a little extra help underneath the system. And that's okay. The systems are set up to go ahead and make sure that the supports are there for all individuals that go to camp, regardless of disability. Next. Camp, some things to consider. Now, while I may be really excited about camp, some of you might be a little more nervous about it. So what are they going to be doing at camp? What are the specific activities? What if my son or daughter can't or can do those things? That's the opportunity of certain camps and learning how to make sure that it's true inclusion. Sometimes you kind of have to modify things to make it work for everybody, and that's okay. And we've discovered in some of our camps that they're willing to do those types of things. And it's my hope that throughout the state of California and for all Californians, that camps that not only serve the disabled and the non-disabled will be able to integrate at a greater capacity. And what a wonderful time that will be for all of them. Parents also have concerns about gender. Sometimes the concern about, do I want my child to be in just a one-gendered camp, or could they be in a mixed camp, are really decisions that you would have to make as a parent. I personally believe those are up to you, but those opportunities should be afforded you through all the camps and based upon what they're able to do and provide to the people that we serve and to the general population as well. Mainstream camp, there's some amazing opportunities there. Doesn't have to be a specific camp for just people with intellectual disabilities or having a disability. It could be a camp that you just decide through your local county or through the Parks and Recreation Department, where you want your son or daughter to attend a day camp that's mainstream. Completely fine. We would love that. And the inclusionary components is really what we want to focus on. Overnight. All camps in the state of California require to have some sort of regulatory oversight. So just check out with each camp what their responsibilities and requirements are to give yourself peace of mind. Next. How do social recreation services work? Well, some of this is the big area for many parents. The confusion about how I want to activate services, but there appears to be some form of barrier. I can tell you that it's not, it's just how the system is built. So typically the process is, well, not typically, the process is vendorization. Regional centers contract with providers, service coordinated systems, vendors like the yoga studio or the swim camp to meet the standards required in the law. There's certain aspects that the regional center must abide by in order to vendor one of these individuals. Typically, the largest sticking point for most parents and typically for the new vendors that are coming on board is the aspect of payment in arrears. But that should not be an impasse or a barrier. And we continue in the regional center system to look at options to help cross that bridge so that the families can get their social services, the recreation that they're looking for either their young ones or for their adult children, to make sure that they're able to meet those needs. So we continue to strive to make our program better in that way. Providers contract with the regional center serving specific in their areas where the service is provided. Now, for some of you that live in the LA basin or into the Bay Area where you have multiple regional centers, Sometimes there are opportunities for you to have conversations with your service coordinator to say, I do know that there's a service that's in the next regional center over. Could we look at tapping into that service? I'm happy to go there and get the service. And they can usually typically work that out for you if it meets the needs underneath the person-centered plan. Now for me, I live in Fresno. And as you can see on the map, we're pretty big. And so for us, typically our families are saying, we really like services. Is there a way for it? We found out, or we heard of a service that's maybe in the LA basin. Is there something that's nearby that could maybe be similar to that service? And we at the regional center will reach out to find out what that service is and try to find something local that might be able to meet the needs. Sometimes we're lucky, sometimes we're not. So then it's just trying to have a discussion then with the family to see how we can work it out to get those social recreation services and those aspects met. Next. What does an inclusive program look like? Wow, this is an amazing statement. So for me personally, mainstreaming is being invited to the dance. Inclusion is getting to dance. And that's really what this is all about. Individuals with IDD are not often treated equally. And it's our goal to make sure that there's true inclusion going on in all aspects of their life so that they can live and enjoy their life just like you or I. Institutions do not meet that criteria. So that is why the regional center system and the state of California has moved away from institutionalized settings and making everything very person-centered and based upon choice. Self-directed services is one of those models that helps families in that process and also helps them learn how to navigate systems and create systems of their own that benefit the individuals that they serve. And also, we also need to make sure exclusion from schools, jobs, and social lights never happen. Some of our goals at the regional center system are to look for employment opportunities. Many of our population that we work with want to have jobs. And so it's important to us to make sure that we go through the process of trying to find employment opportunities through incentives or other means to make sure that they can get their needs met. Also, education is very, very important, not only in the primary school district or primary ages, but also in secondary aspects of life and a social life. Who doesn't like to have a social life? Hence the reason for social recreation. It's a total normal part of our life. We go out on the weekends, we enjoy our friends, we love our family, we have a good time with other people, and that's what this is all about. We try to make sure that our services won't be segregating or isolating individuals. Hence the reason why through the person-centered process, specifically with social rec, we love it when families bring things to us to say, we would like to try this service out, or have you thought about this service? My son or daughter might be interested in that. And those are wonderful opportunities through the IPP process and the interdisciplinary team to go ahead and have those discussions to make sure that no one ever feels alone and that they're always being included in the things that they truly want to do. Next. What does inclusive program look like? Well, here are two quotes, and they're quite amazing. Welcome and included in all aspects of our society, from American Association on Disabilities and the Developmental Disabilities. I'm sorry, my camera's got my blocked some of the, the language. And inclusion involving practice and policies to identify and removing barriers from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. The whole aspect of our job under the Lanterman Act is to create opportunities for growth and for life. And that's what inclusion is all about. And so this is an exciting time for Californians, opening up these new services again, after they've been off for a while. It will take some moments to grow, let's be honest. Some of you are probably frustrated with the time frames that have been going on with this, but as you can see, the regional center systems, DDS, ARCA, the ARC, we are all vested 100% in trying to make this well for all of us, all Californians with intellectual disabilities. Next. What is inclusion? Well, inclusion is, again, getting to go to that dance. Children should have the opportunity for enjoying their family, having the supports to get their needs met, nurturing relationships, fostering friendships like those ones that they get to create at camp, whichever camp it may be. General education classrooms, true inclusion, not having to be isolated in a separate room, but actually being in the room and learning with a regular teacher. And the same activities with children without disabilities. What an amazing opportunity when we talk about true inclusion. And I'm super excited to figure out how we're all going to do that together when it comes to Social Rec at camp. Next. When we talk about children, we can't not talk about our adult peeps, my favorite group. Adults should have the opportunity for relationships of their own choosing, just like you and I. They should be able to live in a home where and with whom they choose. They should have the supports that they need to make sure that they're able to be a thriving young adult who's responsible and engaging in the community setting. And meaningful work in an inclusive way, making sure that when you go to work, you're going to work with anybody, not just people with intellectual disabilities, but the whole community as it may be. Inclusive recreation. Well, that's kind of what we're talking about today. The whole aspect of being able to go out on the weekend and have a good time with your friends and not have to worry about whether they worry about you or you're worrying about them. At the end of the day, you're out there to have a good time. Next. And now we're going to hear a parent's perspective from someone that I just have recently got to know. Her name is Patricia, and she's going to talk about her amazing son. Patricia?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Aaron. Again, my name is Patricia Albeño. I do work for the ARCA of California, and I help coordinate Congreso Familiar. And today I will be talking to you about the benefits of social recreational activities as well as camp and how it has been instrumental in my son's development. I have a 17-year-old who is a client of the regional center. He was diagnosed with autism when he was 2 years, 8 months old, and things were not easy in the earlier years, but he has made great strides. He just graduated high school and is getting ready to launch into adulthood. I truly believe in early intervention and providing adequate supports and services early on. And along with many great individuals who have been supportive along the way, it has really helped them tremendously. Next. One of the first programs we participated in was a program ran out of our local YMCA. They called it Swim and Gym. And when we started, he hated the swimming portion of it. In fact, he soon realized that every time we took this one exit on the freeway, he knew we were going swimming and he would start crying the entire way there. I believe it was sensory related. Most of all, he did not like showering before getting into the pool because at that time he was only used to taking baths, not showers. And of course, he was just being afraid of the water. The other part of this program was the gym portion, which he absolutely loved. He has always sought out sensory input, which he got at this program because he was running, jumping, climbing. And this program was specific to children 0 to 5 who had a disability, and it provided the support he needed. And it supported me because we were in an environment where I was not judged when he had a meltdown or when he was crying and didn't want to participate. The program helped him launch into all the other activities that he later became involved with. Next. He became part of the Special Olympics program when he was 6 years old. And at that time, he was too young to compete in the swim meets or the track meets or their summer games, but he was allowed to participate with the group. Because he was still learning how to swim, he started in the skills group. And some of the challenges he had in the swim and gym program continued at Special Olympics. He still didn't really like it, but this is the one activity that I never gave up on. As much as he would cry and tantrum, have meltdowns, I kept taking him because for me, it was a safety skill that I wanted him to learn. But with a lot of encouragement and support, he began to be more comfortable in the water. At some point, he became very comfortable and loved being in the water with all the splashing. The part that he did not like was engaging in the structured exercises that they were teaching him, and that's when the challenges began. He got comfortable being in the water. He picked up some skills. And at some point, the skills program was not appropriate for him anymore. And the coaches tried to get him to move to the big pool, which that created a whole different set of challenges because he was afraid of how deep the pool was and he was not able to touch the bottom of the pool. So that made him really anxious. So he got pulled back to skills. However, with a lot of encouragement and preparation, he built up his self-esteem, and after many tries, he was finally able to transition to the big pool, and he has never looked back. So I'd like to share a video of him swimming.
Come on, Kristen! You got it, keep it up, keep it up! Come on, Kristen! You got it, keep it up! Yeah, Bennett! Nice, Bennett, come on, buddy! Keep going, keep going, keep going! Come on!
But this really helped him to build his confidence. He has built a lot of lasting friendships and relationships with adults. He has learned to be respectful, and he has learned to depend and rely on his coaches. It has also opened him up to other activities like snorkeling. I mean, who knew he would be able to snorkel when he used to cry just to get in the water? The first time he was able to participate in a competition was very difficult for him. But he finally made it. And the video that we were trying to show is actually him competing and doing the backstroke. Like, who knew this would be possible? Next slide, please. At age 4, we discovered this ice skating program. When he started, he didn't know how to skate. He was afraid to get on the ice. And being on the autism spectrum makes it difficult for him to try new things. But this program is great because they work with kids where they are. They are able to make adaptations. And as you can see, he started with a walker. Other times he was pushing a chair. And at some point he was skating so fast with the walker that it became dangerous, at which point the walker was removed. The program is specific to children with disabilities of all ages, and this environment was helpful for him because the staff was patient and supportive, and they tailored to his needs, and I was not worried if he was having a meltdown. Now let's see if we can share a video of him skating now. He has developed great lasting friendships at this program. The coaches have seen him and many others grow up, and he has learned again to depend on them, and it has opened the door to other activities. Next slide. So ice skating created an interest in ice hockey. So some of these programs are not available, but we kept asking the ice skating coach if hockey would ever be an option. After many years of waiting, they opened this ice skating ice hockey program, and he plays with a team of individuals with disabilities, but you would never know that. They are a great team together, and they support and encourage each other. And I like to share a video. We'll see if it works this time. He has been participating. He looks forward to the hockey festival that USA Hockey sponsors every year. And this activity has helped him be compassionate and understanding of everyone's abilities. Next. He also did some gymnastics, and that helped him with, again, his sensory input that he was always looking for, and helped him build strength, all while having fun. Next. This is him playing soccer. Although his soccer career was short-lived, it was difficult for him to keep up with the sport and fully understand the concept. So I decided not to push it. It's important to explore other activities and support what they are interested in without being forceful. Soccer was just not his thing, but we have been able to find other activities that he absolutely enjoys. Next. And in his sophomore year, he started dragon boating with a team from his high school. And we'll watch a quick video of the team practicing. So this has supported him socially, where he has been able to interact with other teens his age who do not have a disability. He has learned all the good and of course all the bad from them, but this sport has taught him discipline, how to work as a team, and the importance of being a team player. It has taught him communication skills, to follow directions, but I think most importantly, he feels that he belongs and is part of a community and is accepted. It's important to note that because he participated in so many activities and he started so early on, this has enabled him to be able to participate in more inclusive activities that now that his behaviors have been addressed. And it just provided so many opportunities to socialize with his peers. Next. He's also participated in track and field and basketball. So again, I think having the experience of being part of a team and also doing individual events when he can challenge himself have been of great benefit to him. Next. He loves fishing and is always excited to participate. He was first introduced by an organization called CAST for kids. They provide fishing opportunities for children with disabilities, and he was later able to integrate into a regular fishing activity. The biggest thing this activity has taught him has been patience and understanding that you don't always come home with the prize. Next. There's also an organization that hosts Day of Discovery, where they do tide pool scuba diving. And I think this activity has helped them just tolerate all that equipment that they have to wear. So I think all the years of occupational therapy really helped him, but he was also able to learn new vocabulary when they're exploring. Next. He also participated in Aikido. He learned a lot of patience there as well, respecting others, learning in a structured setting, and he recognized that working hard gets you rewards. Next. And because of the many swimming opportunities, and he was finally being comfortable on the water, he has been able to participate in programs that offer surfing opportunities. Next. When he was young, he started in the Challenger baseball team, which is for individuals with disability. This gave him the opportunity to learn the rules of the game in a supported environment. When he started out, he was out in left field, like literally out in left field, picking daisies because he didn't understand the concept and he wasn't interested. Over time, he grew to enjoy it, and the other players started calling themselves big hitters because they became good at playing and hitting the ball. There was a lot of patience from the parents. And then I was able to integrate him into an inclusive baseball team through the city that was open to all children. So this provided exposure to the typical peers in his community. Next. In camps, initially we started with a family camp that was specific to families that have children with autism. This gave him the opportunity to learn what camp was all about, and I was able to be there with him. It was always exciting for him. We got to spend the weekend away, meet new people, make friends, and this was a stepping stone to the next step for him. The next step was to transition to a different type of camp, which was overnight camp. But at the time, I was not ready to send him off on his own. But luckily, this camp that is ventured by a regional center also offered day trips that he enjoyed. And to entice him to go, I signed him up for things that were of high interest to him. So like amusement parks or museums, the zoo. And once we were ready to start overnight camp, it was difficult. It was difficult for him and for me. He would cry on the bus, but the staff was supportive. This was a new experience, and it was strange not having him around for the entire weekend. And it helped him to start to distance himself from me, because I do want him to have other trusting relationships. At some point, this camp was no longer appropriate for him, so we found the film camp that is vendorized by the regional center. And I think this camp has given him ideas of what he wants to do in the future. Next. Hiking is just important to stay healthy, stay fit, enjoy the natural surroundings. Next. He also likes drawing, and during the pandemic, when we were shelter in place, he got really interested in finding tutorials that help him draw. And it is astonishing to see him be so calm and patient and following step-by-step instructions. Next. He's also taken up photography, which is another way that he can communicate and express himself. Next. And he also likes to make things with his hands. Next. Okay. In conclusion, I just want to say that that I can't stress enough the importance of social and recreational activities. I have seen the impact these activities have had on his development. Do not give up. It is tiring. I did a lot of the legwork to find these activities for him, but I'm hoping that now with the regional centers, they'll be able to have some vendors. Cost is usually a barrier, but hopefully we can get these in our IPPs and get these programs for our children. Next up is Christian with the participant perspective.
Hello, my name is Christian Jonathan Oriana. I'm 18 years old and I have autism. I've been diagnosed with autism since I was 2 years old in 2005. My parents are from El Salvador, and I was born in Walnut Creek, California. I speak English and Spanish, and I am bilingual. The first topic that I want to talk about is one of my favorite activities I like to do when I feel stressed out, and that is swimming. Since 2008, my parents enrolled me in swimming lessons when I was 5 years old, and that helped me improve my health and my weight and lose weight because I was pre-diabetic. In addition, it has helped me to socialize and communicate with other people. My parents paid for me to learn to swim, and I succeeded. I'm still swimming. One of the moments I enjoyed swimming, the most that I do it in the company of my father and my brother. Now, the other subject that I want to talk about, it's my passion thing that I like to do, is acting. Since 2015, I had the opportunity to participate in a program called Inclusion Films, created by Joey Travolta, who is the brother of Hollywood actor John Travolta. In this program, I have learned everything about the process of making a movie, how to produce, edit, and above all, acting, which I'm very passionate about. I met a lot of people every year, like George Travolta and Barry Pearl, who are my idols at the camp. The regional center pays for me every year, and I appreciate it because I really like going, learning, and above all, enjoying what we do. I have lived many memorable moments. Like, for example, last year, I was interviewed by the local newspaper of the city of Livermore, and they put a very nice article about talking about the camp and my experience with them. Another important moment is when local television reporters came and filmed all the students at the camp. And finally, the most important and memorable moment for me is when our movie premieres, in which we share our achievement with family and friends. I still participate in the camp, and I enjoyed it very much. And I am grateful to God for the opportunity of being a Latino student with autism to participate in the Inclusion Films Camp. Thank you so much.
So thank you again. Now we come to the other part of this where we want to talk about how do I start social recreation services. So first and foremost, if there's a program that you're interested in as a family member or as an individual that is served by a regional center, contact your regional center and the service coordinator. There is a process to go through. When you find that program, make sure that you have a discussion within your interdisciplinary team and making sure that they understand how this is going to help benefit you and meet your goals and how it could be related to your disability or how it's going to help improve your socialization skills. Do know that it's going to take some time for that vendorization process to occur. So it can be maybe up to 45 days or longer. It just depends on the regional center system. Remember that you're going to want to make sure that if it's through the IPP process that you get an addendum, because the regional center is intending to fund this 100%. It's important for us to know what the services that we're providing, and that vendorization will help us. We also want to make sure that we have some assurances as a regional center system under the Lanterman Act that the services that you're getting provided are going to be helpful for you. Now, there are going to be some disagreements sometimes in regards to what someone wants to do for social recreation. And that's the whole process of discussion within the interdisciplinary team. Just know that if there is a disagreement with a service coordinator, that everybody has a boss and that there's always a discussion to be had in regards to making sure that if that's something that a family or an individual truly wants, we can talk about it. Everything should be able to be discussed at some form or level. And there is a process for that to occur. So moving forward, when you look at social recreation, if you find something that's exciting for you or your family member, bring it forward. Let's talk about it and let's get them vendored so that we can start having that aspect of true socialization and true inclusion. Next.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you to all of our panelists. You did a great job, and we really appreciate all of the information shared today. If you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the question and answer feature, and those questions will be responded to and posted on a later date via website. Thank you again for attending this event. And please don't hesitate to reach out to your service coordinator and your regional center to further discuss social recreation services. Have a good day.